What up? How's it going? Good afternoon. I am Ari Temkin, and this is Showtime on FANTOM. And at FANTOM, we're putting you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion, as I do every day. There's no clock, so what we have to do is sort of pause and share, and then get back with you all. So bear with me until I'm back. Look at that delicious chicken, pollo campero. Multiple locations throughout Dallas, Houston, and throughout Texas. Multiple locations throughout the country. So click the link in the description to find out the closest, nearest, best location for you, so you too can enjoy this delicious South American style chicken, pollo campero. All right. Shout out though to everybody watching this and streaming this live, and I will pay attention to you and give you what I'm thinking here shortly. So bear with me. Also, today's Thursday, which is good news because that means I'm going to Cowboys practice, which means I'll be doing a live stream following Cowboys practice from the facility. So also make sure to stay tuned for that. What else? Yeah, so I'll be with you in a moment here after I go ahead and hit the share button, which I would encourage you to do as well. Share. Sharing is caring, people. And we actually should start there. How about that? Who's in the house? Everybody hit the like button, too. Philip Nichols, Chris Bennett, Joe Tranchina, Ricky Esprit, David Alejandre. What up, everybody? Ricky Esprit says, shout out to you, Ari. Shout out to you, Ricky. Hey, Ricky. You're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Ricky. Yeah, those aren't the lyrics, but I don't care. Hold on. Sorry. Hey, Zach Rosenberg, Ray Pierce. What up? Sean Shake in the house. What up, Sean? How you been, man? Just sharing. I feel the need to explain that every other, like previously on the show, you'd see like a timer that'd be timing down, and then I would start. So like that's what this is basically. This is the timer. This is the ongoing timer. We'll get into the bulk of the Cowboy stuff here in a second. I don't want to upset anybody because I'm deferring Cowboys discussions here for 3 or 4 minutes while I get everything ready and ready to go. So that's the reality of the situation. So my apologies if it offends you or you're upset by it. But there's a lot of pre-show sharing, posting that I have to do about it. And it's all in the spirit of engaging this community because that's what this is. This is a Cowboys community. So through all of the people that participate in the show on an everyday basis, we're building a larger and larger Cowboys community each and every day. And so, the more places I'm able to post this and share it, and the more we're able to encourage more people to show up and become part of the community, the more we're going to grow and evolve and learn and on and on and on. But there's a decent amount of Cowboys stuff to get to today beyond just the traditional Thursday getting ready for a game kind of stuff. Keys to the W on Sunday. I'll get to that. Ray Pierce says, hey, Ari. Also, my mother-in-law is watching. Hi, how are you? On the Dallas Cowboys America's team page, shout out to all you watching across that page. Keith Price, Juan Cortez, Wayne Markley, Patrick Prescott, David Beeler, John Diatley. Take Rippon is the best in college football. He'll be a great backup next year and take over the starting job after next. I don't know that I'd go so far as to say he's the best quarterback in college football, but I guess I wouldn't be completely against taking Brett Rippon. But I also, as discussed, 80% of starting quarterbacks in the NFL are first-round draft picks. So, you're most likely going to find a starting caliber quarterback in the first round of the draft. And if they're not taken in the first round, then history suggests they're not a starting quarterback. Now, there's a few exceptions to that, but the Cowboys don't have a first-round pick. We don't have to go over that. So, that's it. Joe Vanessa Reyes says, hey, what's up from Prosper, Washington? Joe, how are you, sir? G. Garcia says, I'm out. That was quick. What happened, Joe? Or G? Joe. What happened, G? Ray Pierce, what does the O-line look back when Frederick's not coming back this year? Like, let's just forget about that. Frederick is not coming back this year. I'll get into that in a moment here because there's certainly some news on that front, but I'll just start there. Marquise Blaze says, I'm back. Been missing y'all. Well, welcome back, buddy. I'm Ari Temkin, and this is Showtime on Phantom. Phantom is putting you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion. So thank you to all of you who are part of the show each and every day. Sean Shake says, it's crazy to see our defense looks better without Sean Lee. LVE and Jalen Smith look great when both on the field. No, I don't think that's crazy at all. When Sean Lee went down the first time, I think a lot of people, myself included, suggested, well, maybe you just go with Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch full time and sort of find spots for Sean Lee. And obviously they went a different route, and that was fine. But yeah, I mean, it's Leighton Vander Esch is, man, he's been playing like the best rookie defensive player in the league. He's second for amongst rookies in tackles behind Darius Leonard, but he only has one less than Leonard. And remember, the Colts linebacker, Darius Leonard, had like 30 tackles in one game. So for Vander Esch to be as consistent as he's been across the board, he's a tackle machine. He is what Sean Lee has been throughout the course of his career when he's been healthy, which is leading, one of the top tacklers in the National Football League. Patrick Prescott says, I'll admit I was wrong about Vander Esch. I was one of the peeps attending the draft, threw a fit when not getting Derwin James, LOL. Yeah, I liked the pick from the start. I mean, I liked taking an inside linebacker, and the fact that so many went in the first round should have given you a pretty good indication of how important that position is. Because a lot of those guys went, and I didn't know much about Leighton Vander Esch when they drafted him, but I liked the pick. I was happy with it. I certainly didn't think they needed to take a receiver there, and it's worked out. And like the way I always look at drafts is, people that grade drafts immediately after the draft, like they have jobs and they have to do those jobs. But this is what I've always said. When you grade a draft, basically what you're doing is, okay, these are the guys that I liked. So the teams that took the guys that I liked going into the draft, they had good drafts, versus the guys that I didn't like going into the draft, they had bad drafts because I didn't like those guys. It makes no sense. To me, the way you should look at this as a Cowboys fan is, how does your team draft consistently? So that should give you some leverage to think they've made the right move. The Cowboys were criticized by everybody for moving up the draft to take Travis Frederick, remember? Or trading back to draft Travis Frederick. Remember that? Everybody criticized them for doing that. They moved back in the draft to do so. And everybody was like, why would they take this guy? Man, nobody even had him as a first-round grade. And look at how he's turned out. So you have to basically go on history and say, hey, the Cowboys have shown they know what they're doing, especially in the first round of the draft. So when they make a pick, I wouldn't criticize it because you like Derwin James, you like Calvin Ridley, you like somebody else. I would just look at, like, they should have. You shouldn't criticize it because they've had a history that suggests they've been pretty good at selecting in the first round. Because it's really difficult to tell the day after a draft happens if the pick was good or bad. In fact, it's impossible because they haven't even played a down in the National Football League. So that's not to say, like, just blindly be happy with every pick the Cowboys take, especially in the first round. I'm just simply saying, like, they've hit so consistently in the first round that you have to sort of give them some leeway to not criticize the picks because they've shown, especially in recent history, that they know what they're doing in the first round. So, I mean, by the way, I like the Vander Esch pick independent of that because I thought it fulfilled a need. I thought this is a need they've had for a while. They go into every year without a viable replacement for Sean Lee, only to lose Sean Lee and then not have a viable replacement for him. So this seemed like that kind of a pick. Look, he got off to a slow start in training camp. I'll admit it. Even I said, if you watch my streams while I was at camp, I haven't been impressed with Leighton Vander Esch. In fact, the most impressive rookie at training camp was Dorrance Armstrong. So kind of goes to show you how much training camp really matters as far as indications of success for certain guys. But I mean, he's been a beast, and the reason he had these Brian Urlacher comparisons, which I didn't love, was because he played a lot of safety, especially with 8-man football, which was a big thing that everybody was talking about, that he played 8-man football in Idaho at a small school. And so he was sort of forced to play the pass well. And that's what I loved. The questions about Van Der Esch were his ability at the point of attack. His ability to attack and get downhill and shed blocks and make plays, which he obviously has. But we knew he was going to be good against the pass. And so, like, for me, when that's like the number one skill set that a guy has in the draft, in the modern era of the NFL, you need your linebackers to be good against the pass. And he had a history of doing it. He's played safety, 8-man football, whatever it is. So I liked the pick from the start. He's obviously been good at the point of attack, even though that was the criticism of him. And no, it's obviously been good, and he's been better than I think even the Cowboys thought he would be. By the way, thank you to all of you watching across the Dallas Cowboys Report. The post on the Dallas Cowboys Report that comes after my stream started says Van Der Esch didn't know why people were congratulating him until his agent said he'd won NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Quote, "It means a lot. It's a great honor to get that type of recognition, but obviously that was the last game. We've got to move on to this coming game." So that's cool. Shout out to the folks watching on the Cowboys Report, including Frederick Harrison. Cowboys are going to run the table for the remainder of the season. DC for life, perhaps. I wouldn't bet on it, but sure, why not? JT Ryle says she's wondering why her daughter married an ugly duck like you, LMAO. My mother-in-law? That's not very nice. It hurts my feelings, JT. Brian Hogan says if Tyron's a no-go, it might get ugly on that left side. I wouldn't bet on it. Jose Salas says the run game needs to be a cue for the Atlanta game. You need to keep Matt and Julio on the sideline. Don't get cute with play calling. Just play smash mouth football. All right, so let's get started on Travis Frederick and Tyron Smith. So Frederick, David Moore of the Dallas Morning News has been talking to Travis Frederick at least once a week so far the entire year. But he hasn't, every time he's talked to him, written an article about it. Yesterday he did, and he wrote that Travis Frederick recently regained sensation in his hands. So obviously he's had Guillain-Barré syndrome, a really scary disease that apparently is obviously scary as you're going through it, but every indication is that he'll have a full recovery. He said his quote was, quote, "It started to come back in my hands for the first time in nearly 3 months," talking about the feeling, sensation. So, I mean, I know I've answered questions about when will Travis Frederick come back. Do we have a Travis Frederick update? And I mean, like the truth of the matter is, and I sort of indicated this at the beginning of the season, like the Cowboys just need to react as if Travis Frederick's not going to be available at all this season. Like that just has to be their mentality. They cannot try and count on him to be available when it doesn't seem like that should be a reasonable expectation based on what he's going through. And this quote from Travis Frederick is just the latest indication of, like, Frederick isn't coming back, right? So let's start with the good news. The good news here is Travis Frederick is now starting to feel again in his hands. Really good news for him. Really good news for his family, obviously. So, like, that's line one, right? Like, good, happy. This is good news for Travis Frederick, and it's great to see him continue to get better and better and healthier, right? The football side of this thing is, like, anybody that has any expectation of Travis Frederick coming back this year, like, just forget about it. It's not going to happen. And quite frankly, the fact that hasn't already derailed this season entirely is a testament to Joe Looney and how good he's been. Joe Looney's been fantastic. And as we've said before, like, there are certain things that Looney just can't do. And that it's not even being critical of him. It's more just of, like, that's how good Travis Frederick is. And none of them are physical. Like, obviously, Frederick is better than Looney physically. But, like, Looney's held up fine. Looney's been great. Looney's been as good as you could have expected him to be in trying to replace arguably the best center in football in Travis Frederick. But it's all the other things that, again, and I hate to be like, well, Frederick is so great at communication and leadership and lining everybody up, because when you say that, it again looks like you're diminishing Joe Looney, and that's not to say he's bad at it. It's just to say that Travis Frederick excels at it so much that it's obvious they're missing him in some ways, but Looney's been spectacular. Danny Easley says, revenge game, need this one. Diana Lopez in the house. Hey, everyone. Hey, Diana, how are you? Ryan England, what's up, DC fam? What up, what up, what up? Danny Easley, Travis will be fresh and less worn out next season. I'm excited. Yeah. And look, that's it, right? Like, and this is the process that we knew all along was going to be that, there were going to be stages where he was going to first, start to regain feeling, which is, it's still undergoing that process of regaining all the feeling. And then once that happens, then it's about regaining his strength. So, he's just not able to lift weights and do the same kinds of things that he would do if he were playing this season, or if he was getting ready for a season, if he was getting ready to come back from an injury, right? Like, he has to wait for this disease to make its way through his system entirely, flushed out, him get his full feeling back, sensations back, important things, obviously. And then he could start on weightlifting and exercising and all the things that he'll need to do to get his body back in shape to play football. So it wasn't going to be a process that was going to allow him to get back this season. The one thing that maybe had us thinking it would was the fact that he was put on short-term IR and that Travis Frederick was not placed on IR for the season. So the Cowboys perhaps did that initially. I'm not sure why. Maybe maybe it was because of Frederick and they were worried about his psyche. I'm not entirely sure, but it was unrealistic to think that with that short-term IR designation that he would be back this season. Now, here's the other part to this. Because I know a lot of people are like, well, he'll never come back and be the same player. Every indication we've gotten says the exact opposite of that. That he should be able to be fine and be back to normal. It's just a matter of time before he's then able to get back in the weight room, do the things that he could to get his strength back, and get back in football shape. So there's no indication that this guy won't get back to being the best center in football next season. It's just that he lost this season. Let's see here. Robert Ward says fire Garrett and get Lincoln Riley, perhaps. I'll say this. Please fire Garrett. Okay. And this is something else that I want to get into in a little bit, which is I wonder if there are Cowboys fans that's preference would be to lose games to ensure that Jason Garrett loses his job. Like, where are you guys on all this? We'll get into that in a moment, but I do want to get into that because every day I do a stream, everybody's talking about firing Garrett. Kerry Teagle says they're giving Frederick a headset to communicate with Colombo and Hudson. Right, that's what Travis Frederick, I tweeted this quote out yesterday, and Travis Frederick is on the Ben and Skin show on 105.3 The Fan every single Wednesday. The best part of that, by the way, if you haven't heard Travis Frederick on the Ben and Skin show, you need to check it out because they have him power rank things randomly. Every week, they're like, you have to power rank this. This week, he power ranked his ages because it was Ben Rogers' birthday, so Ben wanted him to power rank the ages in Travis Frederick's life. And so just on the spot, they give him something to power rank, and he goes through and just power ranks them. It's hilarious. It's the funniest bit ever. But on the show, he said that, Colombo, that he's been sort of a coach as he's been going through this, but that Mark Colombo has given him a headset on game day, which allows him to communicate with other coaches so that he can kind of give his vantage point of what he's seeing and sort of become a coach with the headset. And that's where Travis Frederick is going to affect the team this season. It's not on the field. It's in what he's seeing and trying to coach, trying to help Mark Colombo, who's got Hudson Houck, and now Travis Frederick helping him out to become a really good offensive line coach. G. Garcia says he's back. What up, buddy? Neil Falver says, never want to lose, ... just absurd, LOL. And especially because there's no first-round pick. But we'll get into that in a moment. All right, so the update on Travis Frederick is he's just starting to get regain feeling in his fingers. Still, by the way, does not have full feeling. That was what he said. He said, quote, it's starting to come back in my hands for the first time in nearly 3 months. So the update on Travis Frederick is if you had any expectation that Frederick was going to play this year, remove that expectation. It's not going to happen. He's not going to play this year, and that's fine. It's not indicative of, oh man, this means he's never going to be the same player. It doesn't mean anything other than he's not going to play this year. And if you have an expectation that he's going to play this year, just forget about it. And there's no indication that he's not going to be the same dominant player he was next year. But this question, which I've gotten a lot, update on Travis Frederick, like he's not going to play this year. So this kind of goes the way of Romo as the offensive coordinator or bringing Dez Bryant back, which obviously now they're not going to do. Any of those sort of I seem to get questions every day. Like, let's just put that in the same bucket with Travis Frederick. He's not going to play this year. Certainly, we can keep you updated on, how he's feeling, but he's not going to play this year, period. It's not going to happen, not especially based on where he is right now in his recovery. Let's see. All right. Okay, Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith is a bad back. I don't need to tell you this. He missed practice yesterday with back spasms. That's obviously bad news because that's more than just a bad back. It means your back is flaring up a little bit. We'll see what happens today, and this is part of what I'll be able to give you after practice today. So about 2:30, 3 o'clock Central, be around your computer or your phone so you can check out my live stream from the Star in Frisco as I'll do a post-practice live stream right here on Phantom. So I'll have a better idea of if Tyron Smith practiced and that kind of thing. But, man, if Tyron Smith doesn't play on Sunday, it'll be deja vu all over again. Because there's been a lot of talk this week about the Atlanta game last year where the Cowboys played in Atlanta without Tyron Smith and Zeke Elliott. And then Chaz Green at left tackle, and we know how that went. Adrian Claiborne looked like Lawrence Taylor. So this is obviously something to monitor. Look, Tyron Smith hasn't been great this year. He had his best game of the season last week against Philadelphia. He had a really good game. But, I mean, it sucks. It sucks. Travis Frederick, for a long period of time, was the best left tackle in football. But he was also, at one point in time, the youngest player in the NFL. So he's an old 27. That's the issue here is he's 27, which doesn't indicate that he's very old, but he's been in the league for basically 10 years. So that's 10 years of wear and tear on his body. So didn't practice yesterday, back spasms. Obviously, the hope is he'll play on Sunday. If not, you hope the Cowboys are better positioned to play without him at left tackle, especially in the house of horrors that was Mercedes-Benz Stadium for them last year, which, I mean, for a lot of people, they still go back to, and that really undid the Cowboys last season. That's the latest on Frederick and Tyron Smith. And obviously the hope is that Tyron, obviously the hope is that he can play, or if not, that the hope is that they've improved enough from Chaz Green if he doesn't play. But my guess, if I were to take a guess, and again I'll know more when I do my live stream after practice. If I had to take a guess, I'd say that he'll play, but that's just a guess. So I don't know really anything beyond that. Any other questions as far as injuries or that kind of stuff is concerned? Really, for the most part, everybody else in the injury report is pretty well known. David Irving didn't practice. Again, I don't expect him to play until after Thanksgiving. Trying to think what else. Oh, Antoine Woods sat out practice yesterday, but I feel like Woods throughout the course of the season has had that. So I don't know that there's much to sort of react to on that front. As far as him being out, again, I expect him to play. I expect really the only surprise on the injury report for me would be for the game would be Tyron Smith if he's unable to go. But that's really it for the injury report. All right. As for the Atlanta Falcons, which is kind of where I wanted to spend some time today. So a couple of things. So first and foremost, I know there are Cowboys fans that actually want the team to lose because their preference, and I'm like, that's okay. As a fan, you're every right, because they feel like if they lose, then Jason Garrett will get fired. So I'm asking you, because and Chaz Green is not still on the team, Danny. Don't worry. But that's like I can understand why some Cowboys fans would be actively rooting for them to lose, so as to ensure that Jason Garrett's no longer their head coach. But kind of asking you your thoughts. Thumbs up if you think, hey, I'm always rooting for the Cowboys to win. Cowboys win. I think they're going to win. Give me a heart emoji if you think, hey, whatever outcome gets me Jason Garrett gone, that's what I want. So I'm definitely curious about that. Jason Turner says, Martin good to go? Yeah, no, Martin has been practicing this week. The indication was that it was just a scare, and that he's fine. Obviously, he's finished the game, so yeah, no, Zach Martin should be fine. Sean Moore says we need to draft a good tackle next year. I agree. In fact, that's probably my second-round pick. Steve Eason says, unfortunately, the way Jones is, he won't fire Garrett if we win multiple remaining games. I never want to lose, but that's just the facts with Jerry Jones. Steve, you've been watching the stream long enough to know that I disagree with that. I believe if the Cowboys don't make the playoffs, Jason Garrett will lose his job. No additional context needed. Now, I know everybody wants to create other caveats or whatever, but that's just my belief. I don't think Jerry's going to fire Jason. I think Jerry's going to fire Jason if they don't make the playoffs. That's what I think. So it doesn't matter how many games they win, how many games they lose. I believe they'll fire Garrett regardless of the outcome of the season. I believe they'll fire Garrett if they miss the playoffs. That's what I think. Stevie Mack on YouTube says, what's up, Ari? LVE not on the Pro Bowl ballot, but Damian Wilson is, LOL. He'll be a Pro Bowler. Leighton Vander Esch will, if he continues to play this way. Also, Sean Lee should retire and become the next linebacker coach, since linebacker group's already solid without him. Have Ben Bloom be promoted to defensive coordinator if Chris Richard's promoted to head coach, or if he leaves. By the way, I'm anti Chris Richard becoming their next head coach. I'm just like I like him as D coordinator. I'm out on him as the next coach. I am firmly in the camp of you have to have an offensive-minded head coach in today's NFL. So I like Chris Richard. I think he's a good coordinator. I think he's done a good job this year. I like his mentality. I like his fire. But I'm only going to be hiring a offensive-minded head coach. Period. That's just my feeling on it. Tony Enriquez says, do you think if we get a new head coach, we lose all the other coaches, or will some stay? I mean, it depends. It's a good question, though. And Stevie Mack says, Ben Bloom, brings up Ben Bloom, and I like that. When people say Sean Lee should be their next linebacker coach, I don't disagree with it. I think he could be a great coach. It's like, well, what do you do with Ben Bloom, who's been great? I don't know if Ben Bloom is ready to become a D coordinator, but certainly he's been a great linebackers coach, and you have to look at the way that these linebackers have developed and played together, Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch in particular, and think that a lot of that is based on Ben Bloom. So, Bill Montalvo says, just tuned in with Travis Frederick's status. Long story short, Frederick's not going to play this year, but the good news is he's starting to get feeling back in his hands. So, long story short, if you thought Frederick was going to play this year, let's just get that out of your mind and everybody's mind. Thank you, Tony Enriquez. Got feeling sensation for the first time in 3 months, which is obviously good news for him, but as far as his ability to play this year, it's just not going to happen. G. Garcia says, gotta go again. I'm sick. I was trying to tough it out to watch the show, but I can't. Sorry. Stars up. DC for life. Interesting. Could lay in bed and be sick and watch this, I would think. Maybe not. But I mean, to answer your question, if they brought in a new head coach, it'd kind of be up to him to which coordinators or position coaches he'd want to keep. Sean Moore says, Chris Richard was going to beat those Philly DBs' asses all by himself. I'd follow that guy if he were my head coach. I mean, sure. I mean, that's not to say he's not a fiery, good, motivational guy. I'm just saying, like, I need an offensive-minded head coach in the modern NFL, period. Keon Russell says, we still got a chance to win. We just 2 games behind Washington. Yes, that's true. It's very true. With a game on Thanksgiving against Washington. And that's this season, the ability for the Cowboys to be a playoff team this season rests in these next 2 games. And probably in particular, like, they beat Atlanta, they're in good shape. They lose to Washington, it's over. They beat Atlanta and beat Washington, now they're probably going to win the division, quite frankly. You lose to Atlanta and you beat Washington, and it's okay. Like that's it. Like they can lose to Atlanta and then beat Washington next week and still be in decent shape. So there's a maybe. If they split, it's a maybe. If they lose to Washington, it's over. It's over if they lose to Washington. If they split with a victory against Washington, it's a maybe. And if they win both of them, then they're in good shape to win the division. Jay Hood in the house. What up, Jay Hood? Ricky Asprey says Brett Maher is definitely a big concern for the Cowboys. He'll make or break the team in close games. Very concerned about it. Love to hear your opinion on that, Matt Ari. Kicking's a concern. I mean, Jonathan Hood is a radio host in Chicago with ESPN 1000 and nationally. I mean, just ask Jonathan Hood what the Bears did with Cody Parkey. Cody Parkey is still on the Bears, even though he went 0-4 last week in Chicago in a big game against the Lions. He missed 2 field goals and missed 2 extra points. So kicking's been bad across the league this year. Kicking percentages have been bad. So Maher's probably still upper third in the league in percentages. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but there's bad kicking across the league. So Maher's missed at least 1 kick in 3 straight games, which is obviously concerning, but it could be worse, I guess is my point. Jay Hood says, even though it's snowing here, there's still a Bears party in the city, way ahead of schedule. Hashtag Bear Down. That's right, but they got to get a new kicker. The Bears love to have Brett Maher. The Cowboys would not like to have Cody Parkey, simply put. Danny Easley says, bring back Nugent. No. Nugent's not good either. Nugent kicked for the Bears last year, too, and it was horrible. I don't know. Was that the Cowboys last year that he kicked for? Why am I mixing guys up? Who did the Cat Scratch Fever guy kick for last year? Kerry Teagle says, Skip Bayless said we're going to lose to Atlanta and New Orleans and win the division with a 9-7 record. Sean Moore says, all right, get us some samples of that blackened chicken. Sean, you're going to need to go to Pollo Comparo yourself, buddy. And I hope you do. All right, let's take a look at Atlanta. The Falcons offensively are really good. And here's the bad news. The Falcons offensively are really good at home. Really good at home. Heard a couple of stats from David Hellman and his podcast, The Break, which is a good podcast. So the Falcons have scored on 15 of their 18 red zone possessions at home. The Falcons have scored on 15 of their 18 red zone possessions at home. And by scored, I mean a touchdown. They've kicked a field goal on the other 3 that they haven't scored touchdowns. So they're 100% on scoring in the red zone, and they are 80% on scoring touchdowns in the red zone at home. The Falcons average 32 points a game at home and 21 points on the road. They're a different offense and a different team at home. You might ask, why is that? The Falcons in the Matt Ryan era have seemed to be a different team at home on the road. And I don't know that it would make much of a difference if they were playing in Dallas, because the facilities in Dallas are pretty similar to the facilities in Atlanta in that it's an indoor track and it's fast. So I don't know if, man, I wish the Cowboys were playing a home game this week because Atlanta's so much better at home than on the road. I mean, I think Atlanta would be good on the road if they weren't playing outdoors. They played in Cleveland last week, didn't show up. Got smoked by a bad Browns team, but that's because they're a different team on the road outside. So, it sucks the Cowboys have to play this game on the road, but I don't know that if they played this game at home, it'd be much different because it seems like the Falcons are really good in an indoor stadium and an indoor field on a fast track that the Cowboys the Falcons play on. So that's the tough part here is I don't know who I'm going to pick yet. I'll make my official pick tomorrow. But their offense is really, really good at home. And here's the other thing, right? Jay Hood says, they opened the gates at Soldier Field for Parkey to practice. Nagy realized the winds are different at Soldier Field than at Lake Forest. Very, because you're on Lake Michigan. Keith Jones says he's out. Got a few things to do. Have a good day. See you, buddy. Take care. So yeah, it's going to be tough for, even though the Cowboys have a really good defense, Atlanta's offense has proven to be good defense proof. Now they're not really balanced, but I think that's sort of by design. They're 30th in the NFL in running the football. They don't have Devontae Freeman; he's out for the year. They have Tevin Coleman, but even if you know what they've done with Tevin Coleman in the past, they've always used Devontae Freeman as the running back, and Tevin Coleman is sort of a scat back. And a guy that they use in the passing game a ton. So without Freeman, they're even more pass heavy, which they have Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Tevin Coleman, and Austin Hooper. It just makes sense that they would be more pass heavy. So they're 30th in the NFL in rushing. They only run about 90 yards per game. They're not balanced, but they just have a really high-powered offense that they're going to put up points against anybody. And I know the Cowboys defense balled out last week, so hopefully they can carry that over into this week. But, man, that Atlanta offense is really, really good. The other thing is, and this is something to watch for, is Dion Jordan, who's a very talented linebacker for them, has been taken off IR. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to play, but it's that, like, sorry, Dion Jones. I got Dion Jordan. Dion Jordan's the kind of bust that was a 3rd overall pick out of Oregon. Dion Jones is the guy that Atlanta's just got taken off IR. The question will be, so both the Falcons and Cowboys are going to be playing on short weeks. Both the Cowboys and Falcons will be playing Sunday and then playing Thursday. Falcons and Saints are playing on Thanksgiving. They're the night game. So remember, the Cowboys and Saints will then play the following Thursday. So, So the question will be, would the Falcons use Dion Jones so closely after he was taken off IR, or will he be available to play this week and he'll play, or are they going to save him for that Saints game on Thursday on the short week? That's going to be a huge difference maker. Their defense hasn't been great this year, but Dion Jones makes their defense a lot better. The other part on offense is, they don't have their offensive guards. Both of their starting offensive guards are out, Andy Levitri and I forgot the name of the other guard. So that's the one area where you look at this Falcons offense. That's where you can try to neutralize, they're just how high powered they are, because they are without both of their starting offensive guards, and that's where I wonder if I'm the Cowboys, do I start Tyron Crawford on the inside because he's kind of an interior, pass rusher against, inexperienced guards like that, against guards that are not the best. That might be the best approach towards trying to get your pass rush going, because, it's not like Antoine Woods is a legitimate pass rusher, right? Like Antoine Woods is a space eater. So Tyron Crawford, though, is an interior pass rusher. Obviously, he plays both inside out. But I just wonder if maybe you start Randy Gregory at right defensive end, DeMarcus Lawrence at left defensive end, and then go with Crawford in the middle to take advantage of some injuries that the Falcons have across the guard position. Anthony Galashaw says Zeke will run havoc on the Falcons defense. Okay, maybe, perhaps. Dave Barclay says it's true. Al Bundy's the new Dallas head coach. Wow, I did not know that. So, I mean, sure, yes. Zeke Elliott, if he gets going, they're going to have a good game. But, the Cowboys are kind of built now the opposite way. They're not built to allow the run to set up the pass. They're now using the pass to set up the run. That's what the acquisition of Amari Cooper did. So, the issue is, you don't want to get into a shootout with this team. So to your point, you want to use Zeke Elliott pretty consistently in order to try to slow down, the Falcons offense to a certain degree. So for me, a couple of big things. They need to be able to take advantage of the fact that both guards are backup guards, that both of the starting guards of the Falcons are out. The Cowboys have to be able to take advantage of that and get after Matt Ryan. And the other thing is, they have to run the ball effectively in order to keep Atlanta's offense off the field as much as possible. Cristobal Roca says, is Irving going to play? I don't think so. But again, I'll be at practice after the show today. I'm going to end this stream a wee bit early and then get out to the Cowboys facility and then give you another live stream from the Star in Frisco after practice, so I can get a little better insight into David Irving. By the way, it's Irving, not Irvin. David Irving with a G. So I'll have a better insight into that situation. What else? Chris Bennett says peace. Garrett Weldon says, if we control the clock, then we can limit their scoring offense. True. which, yeah, I think that's going to be a piece to it. But, the problem is if you go back and look at the Eagles game, and number one, the Falcons don't have great corners, but they've got better corners than the Eagles. But number two, the Cowboys once again had Zeke Elliott run into a wall because they were trying to establish the run to allow the pass to open up. And what happened? Well, it didn't really. So they had to go the opposite. They had to then, they had to basically keep their defense honest by getting Amari Cooper and the rest of those guys, as we showed you yesterday, open in space. So, that's the problem here is the Cowboys are going to attempt to run the football effectively to start. My guess is the Falcons will bail out to stop them on the run. And then at some point, the Cowboys are going to have to transition to try to figure out how to get the box loosened a little bit. And that's why I think it starts sort of with the passing game open up the running game, which obviously the running game is going to be a huge component to this game, again, so that they can take as much time off the clock as possible. Dean Cruisinger. Ari just got on. Did we talk about Travis already? We did. Anybody want to catch Dean Cruisinger up on the Travis Frederick situation? Ninja Nuts in the house. He says if they're smart, they focus on stopping Zeke and crashing on the pocket to rush Dak's throws. Yeah, and I host. Some of you may know I host, along with Dallas Cowboys Radio. I host a daily talk show on SiriusXM Big 12 Radio from 7 to 10 a.m. And I host that show on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays with former Atlanta Falcons quarterback Dave Archer. Archer is the color commentary for the Atlanta Falcons. And, he was basically saying to me off the air, the Falcons, like most teams, are going to try to force Dak to beat them. They're not going to allow Zeke Elliott to beat them, right? So, this idea that, Zeke will just run all over them, yeah, sure. But that sort of starts with Dak's ability to keep the defense honest. Because once Dak starts completing passes to Cooper and they start getting guys open, that's when they have to loosen the box a little bit, and that's when you can hit him with Zeke. But, look, the Falcons may look at this and say, we're going to get 32. We score 32 points on average at home. So regardless of how good your defense may or may not be, we're going to get our 32. So the difference is then, are the Cowboys able to keep up? And obviously 32 points, to get there, you're not going to be able to run the football that effectively. Daniel Griffin says, will Beasley become a bigger threat with Cooper doing as well as he has been? Yeah, absolutely. And that's, we did some film. We looked at some film yesterday and saw already how the impact that Cooper has. There was a play against the Falcons where Cooper and Beasley were on the same side, and the safety had to make a split-second decision on who to cover. And as soon as he makes that decision, Beasley cuts off his route, and he gets open. And that's the read that the quarterback was looking at right there. He was watching to see what the safety was going to do. And as soon as the safety came over to help on Cooper, Dak knew he'd have one-on-one situation with Cole Beasley. So, yeah, Beasley will certainly reap the benefits of a guy like Amari Cooper, as obviously the other receivers will too. Albert Carzosis has just got on. Is Tyron okay? Thank you, Tony Enriquez. Tony Enriquez, man, you're the man. Tony Enriquez is like my assistant here. He's the one that's telling everybody the questions that I've already answered, which is great. I appreciate that very much. Sean Moore says, play action on the first play and go deep to Gallup. Not a bad call. What else we got, guys? What else we got, people? What else we got, everybody? I am Ari Temkin. You can catch me on the Dallas Cowboys pre- and post-game show on 105.3 The Fan. We're live at 9 a.m. on Sunday for a rare noon game for the Dallas Cowboys. And then the post-game show to follow. I think coming into this week, or early on this week, I thought the Cowboys would win as I've sort of looked at film and studied some of the statistics and looked at this a little bit deeper. I've begun to talk myself out of the Cowboys winning, to be honest with you, because of how good the Atlanta Falcons offense is at home. But obviously the Cowboys defense has been a huge, huge part of the success when they've had it this year. So, I don't want to sleep on how good the Cowboys defense has been, but 32 points on average at home is 32 points on average at home. That's going to take into account some pretty good defenses that you've already been playing against. So, That's obviously a huge piece. What else? All right, on the Dallas Cowboys report. Waiting for that to come up. Daniel Griffith wants me to make my prediction. I'll do that tomorrow, Daniel. I have until Friday to make my prediction. Thank you very much. Sorry. Trying to see the comments here on the Dallas Cowboys report page. Also, want to get to the YouTube page as well in a moment here. Frederick Harrison says 31-20 Cowboys win. That Cowboys didn't have Zeke last year against Atlanta. That's true. They did not. They also didn't have Tyron Smith. But both these teams are significantly different than they were last year. Frederick, I don't know that I agree with 20 points for Atlanta. Atlanta's averaging 21 points on the road, 32 points at home. So you basically taken what they score on the road in a home game and given them that. Now again, Cowboys have a good defense, but the Falcons have played some pretty good defenses too this year and still put up some points. So I just don't agree that the Falcons are only going to put up 20 points. I mean, the Cowboys are going to, I don't know that this is going to be a shootout, but the Cowboys are going to need to score probably more than 25 points in this game to win it. And Gary Sane says next few games will determine if we get a new coach next year. That's true. I would say the next two games would determine that. As we've discussed. What else we got? Angelina Martinez says, LOL, I'm listening. To what? To me? If the defense is on, we win. That's from Brian Hernandez. Frederick Harrison says, Cowboys defense brings hell with them on the road. I mean, since last week. I'm not trying to be negative here, Frederick. But, I mean, they hadn't won a road game until last week. And again, like, how do we view good defenses in the National Football League? That's sort of an important discussion here, right? Like, a good defense is giving up less than 30, right? Is a good defense giving up less than 20? Well, depending on the offense you're playing, right? I mean, a good defense is going to give up less than 20 points to the Cleveland Browns. A good defense is going to give up less than 20 points to the Oakland Raiders. But, like, the Cowboys have a good defense, and they can still give up 26 points to the Falcons, in Atlanta, because Atlanta averages 32 points at home. Like, let's just take a look at Atlanta's home schedule, shall we? Who have the Atlanta Falcons played this year? And we've seen in the modern era really good offenses beat really good defenses. So that's something to look at too. All right, let me just check this real quick. So Brian Hernandez says if the defense is on, we win. And I guess my question is, what does on mean? Giving up less than 30 points? Giving up less than 20 points? Let's see here. At home, we played Carolina. They beat Carolina at home. And Carolina's defense is really good, and Carolina's defense gave up 31 points. Okay, Carolina's defense isn't really good. Cowboys have a better defense, but obviously the Carolina defense looked good against the Cowboys. It was week 1, so I'll excuse that. Daniel Griffith says, if we make the playoffs and lose game 1, is Garrett out? What I've said consistently is I believe the Cowboys will fire Jason Garrett if the Cowboys don't make the playoffs. I don't think they'll fire him if they make the playoffs and lose the first round. I don't. Let's see here. Then they lost to New Orleans in a game in which they scored 37 points at home. New Orleans doesn't have a great defense. They lost to the Bengals, and the Bengals defense gave up 36 points. Remember, the Bengals beat them 37-36 in Atlanta. Let's see here. Tampa Bay's defense. So these are the defense they played at home. That's what we're trying to figure out, right? So this is the home team, the teams they played at home that have allowed them to score 32 points per game on average. Carolina, New Orleans, Cincinnati, Tampa, and the Giants. They played 5 home games. Those are the teams they played, and those defenses have given up 32 points to them on average. So, where does the Cowboys defense rank in relation to those teams? Probably number 1 out of those teams defensively. They probably have the best defense of those teams. But would it be enough to hold this team to a point? I mean, again, is it going to be enough to hold them? I mean, if they hold them under 20, they're going to win, right? But I don't think it's very likely. It doesn't seem very likely that the Cowboys hold Atlanta to 20 or under. So how about 25? Cowboys hold Atlanta to 25 or under. They should probably win too. 30? It seems pretty likely the Cowboys, their defense, if it plays as good as it could possibly play, their defense would give up 25 points or less. And they should win that game. But anything more than that, and it's going to be tough for them to win. Yeah, and that's what Brian Hernandez says too. There's a reminder. By the way, if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, DFW, if you live in Arlington, Tailgate Tavern is across the street from AT&T Stadium, and that's where we're going to be broadcasting live during the game. Now, it's not a home game, obviously. It's on the road, but man, come hang out with us at Tailgate Tavern, which is literally across the street from AT&T Stadium. They're going to have great drinks, great food. Come hang out with us. Dalton Miller and Walt Chisholm are going to be hanging out there. So click on the link, which you'll see scrolling through in order to get the full details on our watch party for Cowboys Falcons Sunday from Tailgate Tavern in Arlington at AT&T Stadium. Tony Enriquez, how many games have the Cowboys scored more than 25 points? Not many. 2, I believe. 2? Is the answer 2? I know for a fact they scored more than 25 in one game. That was the Detroit game. But that's a great question. However, they've only played 2 games with Amari Cooper. And here's an interesting stat that I found out about the Cowboys with Amari Cooper. And the answer to your question is they scored more than 25 against the Eagles. They scored more than 25 against the Jags. And they scored more than 25 against the Lions. So the Cowboys have scored at least 25 points in 3 of the 9 games they played. Not great. But there's more reason for optimism because of the addition of Amari Cooper, which is my next point. And that is the Cowboys have had 20, and this is a stat that I just found. The Cowboys have had 27 trips to the red zone this season. 27. 9 of those 27 have come in the last 2 weeks. So, to put it another way, in 7 games, they had 18 red zone trips. In the last 2, with Amari Cooper, they've been to half as many. 9. So, obvious, and there are a ton of metrics. Their third down offense is considerably better. There's just a ton of metrics you can point to the last 2 weeks that gives you reason for optimism for their offense. To me, the red zone ones are really indicative because, I mean, they basically have done in 2 games half as many trips to the red zone as they did in 7 games. I mean, that's insane. It took them 7 games to get 18 trips to the red zone. That's putrid. It's taken them 2 games to get 9 trips to the red zone. That's incredible. All right, I'm Ari Temkin. Thank you all for being a part of today's show. By the way, I'm back, so make sure to come and hang out with me again as I broadcast live from the Star in Frisco post-practice about 2:30 Central, 3 o'clock. There's no time, I won't know for sure but about 2:30, between 2:30 and 3 is when I'll be back Central Time, so make sure to hang out there. Thank you to Sean Moore, Kerry Teagle, Neil Favre, Diego Maestas, Joe Tranchina, Dakota Stiegel, Alex Hernandez, David Griffith, Tony Enriquez, Brian Hernandez, Jason Turner, Keith Price, Steve Eason, Bobby Lentz, all of you people that are a part of this stream, that are part of this community, that are part of the show each and every day. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you very much for being a part of this stream each and every day. I'm Ari Temkin. This is Showtime, 12 o'clock Central, every single day right here on Phantom. But I'll be back about 2:30, 3 Central, live from the Cowboys facility in Frisco. But for now, I am out, everybody.